many individuals on terror watch lists have been screened or found at any of the screening points, either in Qatar, Ramstein, or in the U.S.?
I don't know.
All right, so where are we going from here? Congressman John Katko, the Homeland Security Committee ranking member of New York. Congressman, I don't know. There are a lot of I don't knows going on here, but this comes at a time when we're trying to attach a firmer or more reliable number to the Americans left in Afghanistan. Are you confident in what you're hearing out of the administration?
No, I mean, I think this has been a botched job from the beginning, and so I don't have a lot of confidence at all in what they're saying. And I appreciate everyone's concern about getting out of Afghanistan, and that's absolutely the tragic results of what's going on. But we got to understand the long-term implications for the United States from a homeland security standpoint, and those implications are quite profound, and that's something we need to explore more of.
You know, we do know that when a lot of people, tens of thousands of them, are trying to leave a country and get the heck out, that you know, people are slipping through the cracks. We found the first indication of that in France, where a Taliban loyalist was among those who got off a plane that landed in Paris. I just wonder how many more cases like that there are.
No, that's a great question. And let's not forget, more than 5,000 prisoners were released from prisons in Afghanistan. Most of them were terrorists, high-level terrorists, some of which were housed formerly at Guantanamo Bay. And we're going back to a pre-9/11 footing in Afghanistan, which in and of itself is a huge danger for the United States, because it's going to allow terrorism to metastasize once again there and be a breeding ground. But then we have the open borders on the southern border right now. If you're worried about people slipping through the cracks, consider this. 218,000 people crossed the border last year or last month that we know of. That's not all the gotaways that got into the United States. It stands to reason that we're going to have that coming into the United States. And that's a huge concern, particularly since this administration won't even tell us about the huge increase in the number of known and suspected terrorists that have been caught at the border before Afghanistan fell. And that's only it's only going to increase. So when you say about slipping through the cracks, the southern border is a gigantic vulnerability, and it's going to have long-term implications for us in the United States.
I'm just more worried, at least on the time being, of all the people who are just flying freely out of Afghanistan. And I agree with you, Congress, the far vast majority, you hope, is just seeking asylum. Their lives are in danger. It's threatening. But I've also heard that, you know, when we were making a big deal about everyone has to have paperwork with them on the planes in the early days, there were no such conditions. We were just trying to herd people on and get them out. I'm just wondering what protections we have, or what you know of how we sorted and vetted those people out, if we vetted them at all.
Well, see, that's a great question. And, you know, when we have refugees come into this country, they're generally thoroughly vetted, and it takes a long time. I remember the Lost Boys, who were in camps as kids and came to my hometown of Syracuse. They spent more than a year just getting vetted before you're allowed to come in. I'm very concerned about them cutting corners in that regard. And you're right. We have to do a thorough vetting job, and we cannot rush it. But the way that this exit from Afghanistan has been handled, I don't have a lot of confidence that that's going to happen. And you're right. Having people caught already that have been taken out of Afghanistan in a rush, we've got to slow down wherever they land outside of Afghanistan and make sure before they step foot on American soil that they're thoroughly vetted. There's a lot of people that help save Americans' lives in Afghanistan, and we should take care of them if we can. But we also got to make sure that bad guys don't slip through the cracks, for sure.
And you mentioned at the outset, Congress, just to be clear, there were reports that the government empowered, the Taliban-run government empowered, had emptied out one prison. Now, whether all of those were Taliban sympathizers and they thought were wrongly in prison, we just don't know the details. But it did remind me back in the 1970s of the Cuban boat people, when Fidel Castro essentially did just that, just emptied out at prisons and the rest, and they were the overwhelming majority who made their way to this country. We hope the same isn't being repeated here, but the Taliban is the group that's processing that paperwork or checking them in at that perimeter outside the airport. So they're the ones, at least in the early stages, getting them through the line, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And this was so poorly handled that I think your concerns are very legitimate. that, are going to be people that slip through the cracks. And there's so many opportunities for them to do so. And that's the immediate concern. But I can't stress enough how our southern border is a long-term major concern, given that we have a terrorist foothold now again in Afghanistan, which I'd like to refer to now is this going to be the terrorist headquarters, the world headquarters. And from there, they can do a lot of bad things. And if they can exploit our southern border, they're going to do that. So we need to tighten up our southern border. And I don't know if this president has the guts to do that. But we also need to make sure we take our time thoroughly vetting every Afghani that's coming into the United States through these refugee programs.
Absolutely, no matter from where you're getting into the country. Congressman, thank you very much. Congressman John Katko,